Latest football news,
engaging debates,
and fascinating opinions.
Pitchside Talk on IO Radio.
Hello and welcome to Pitchside Talk here on IO Radio's Fridays at 5 p.m. for another week of football action here on Pitchside Talk with me, as always, George, your host for this week. Hope you're all well. Hope you're enjoying the winter weather. I'm not. It's too cold for me. Bring back the summer, and all that sort of stuff. But we do have winter football instead, which is, it's quite nice to see winter football. I think it's a lovely time of the year. And I hope my co-host does agree with me as well. Dan, as always, he is back, our resident Ipswich Town fan. How are you doing, mate? Are you enjoying the football? Do you like the winter football like me sometimes?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's when it's all congested around here. There's game after game, isn't it? So, yeah, you got to love the football over the winter.
Yes, you've got to love it, as always. And now, before we move on, going on what we're talking about in today's show, I better mention the social medias. As always, Twitter is at Pitchside Talk. Instagram is at talk_pitch. YouTube, it's got it both at Pitchside Talk. If you've missed any of our previous shows, do not worry. They're up there on YouTube and Mixcloud for you to listen back to whenever you like to. If you want to listen back to last week's show, don't worry. It's all up there for you to listen back to whenever you want to. And in today's show, we'll be talking about Ipswich Town, another double bill. I think every week is just a double bill of Ipswich Town's games, funny enough. But this time, we've got a league game against Oxford and also that FA Cup first-round replay against Oldham to cover as well. England, they've been in action their final two World Cup qualifier games. But they only need 4 points from two games to see them qualify for next year's World Cup, which is actually quite mad to say next year's World Cup, but it's coming around very fast. And also, we've got a big football roundup for you at the end of the show, as well as we've got lots of sort of news stories floating about in the world of football this week. So when we come back, we'll be talking about Ipswich Town, their double bill, their game against Oxford in the league at home, and also their away day trip to Oldham in the FA Cup first round replay. So don't go anywhere.
stay up to date with the latest footy news.
Pitchside Talk on IO Radio.
Hello and welcome back to Pitchside Talk here on IO Radio's Fridays at 5 p.m. with me, George, and Dan. As always, hope you're having a good weekend. Hope you're enjoying these cold, wintry nights. I'm certainly not. I don't really like them, but I do like winter football instead, which is what we all like about here on Pitchside Talk. Winter football, those are games in a short space of time. And we had that again for Ipswich Town this week, a double bill. They were back in action after being back in action for a league break. Oh, back in action in the league. I can't speak. After a cup competition break, and this time they hosted Oxford United at home in the league as they look for back-to-back wins, and also they had an away day trip to Oldham for the FA Cup first round of replay, which they drawed 1-1 at Portman Road. So this week, Town, they took on Oxford United in a game which could have seen Town actually go only 1 point off those playoff places, those desired playoff places, but they needed a win to get that 1 point. And unfortunately, Town, they huffed and they puffed, but the two sides could not be separated in the 90 minutes, and another 0-0 draw happened for Ipswich and Oxford. Dan, a point for both sides, but for Town, much more. It's an improved side, but no winning goal at the end of the 90.
No, it was really frustrating. I think first half was very, very even. I think Oxford came into the game looking like they wanted to go and cause us problems, and they looked quite dangerous on the attack. Of course, we did as well, as we usually do. I think we hit the post twice in the first half, so it could have really gone either way. So I was quite surprised when it went 0-0. Went into half time with no goals. But second half was completely different. Oxford just shut up shop and decided they wanted to sit on the floor for 45 minutes, which I guess in a way completely ruined our style of play. We kept the ball well. We were passing it around fine, but we just couldn't find that final ball. I think maybe we were slightly better than them in the second half, but I still don't think we did enough to get all 3 points, and we just couldn't get the ball in the net. When thinking about it, there wasn't too many chances to get that goal down the Bobby Robson end. So it was really frustrating, and obviously the game wasn't flowing at all. So the fans were getting quite annoyed and quite. It's just frustration. That's all it was. With us not being able to get that. I guess like Oxford defended well. Actually, they defended pretty well to keep us out, considering the form that we've been on, and we've scored in every single League One game we've played so far this season, apart from this one. So they defended well and kept us out, and yeah, it was just a really frustrating game to watch. And overall, in my opinion, I don't think we did enough to win the game, but I think other people think that it wasn't a bad performance at all. I'm not saying that we played awful, but we still didn't do enough, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's an interesting take there. That is, didn't do enough to score. Wow. Well, Paul Cook was said something a bit different to what you thought. He was happy with sort of the size performance, feeling it was actually improved as the match went on. Saying we deserved the win. I thought the first half we were very equal. We hit the post twice, but Oxford, they are a good side. There's no getting away from that. But we showed what I felt in the second half. We controlled the game, kicking it to end, and we felt the goal was coming. But Dan, he's sort of saying here, the game sort of felt like there was goals galore coming, but unfortunately no goal during that 90, which I think will be a little bit of a concern for Paul Cook in the back of his mind. Firstly, a game where they haven't scored. But this is interesting. You think they didn't do enough, but Paul Cook feels that they were unlucky not to have a goal in this game for Ipswich.
Yeah, I was fairly surprised when I heard his comments, because in the second half, I can remember Bailey Clements putting a ball in that Bond couldn't get to it. But that was about it. I can't really think of much chances we had in the second half. We kept the ball fine, as I said before. But Oxford were just there to frustrate us, and that's what they did. They managed to stop us from attacking. So I guess I could see why he thought that we were the better side, because I think we probably were slightly the better side. But there was hardly any chances. There wasn't much happening, unless I'm forgetting them, which could be what I'm doing. But yeah, I was fairly surprised, but I guess I can understand his comments at the same time, because I think maybe if we'd played another 45 against that Oxford side, maybe if Oxford performed like that throughout the 90, we probably would have got all 3 points. But they were there to frustrate us. They managed to get in. They managed to understand what the ref was doing in this game and play that to their advantage. There was a ridiculous decision at the end of the game when it clearly went out for a corner, and it was given as a goal kick, and that just rounded it off as a frustrating afternoon. It sounds like I'm being so negative about it, because it wasn't that bad a performance, really. I thought we passed the ball around well. We were playing some good stuff, but yeah, we just couldn't get the ball over the line, which is just frustrating. And I guess it happens, and we weren't going to score in every single game, but that's just how it is.
Well, as Pompey fans will say, don't be so negative and frustrated, because you spent all the money in the world, so don't worry about it. No, it's crazy, I think this is the first sort of game probably since that Bolton game where Town fans have probably been quite frustrated by the game, really not going Town's way. This is the first time since that. So it's been a good 2 months now since that game against Bolton, where frustrations have been like that. And Town, they might not score the goal in the game, but there were some positives that came up from the game. And somebody who impressed on his league debut was Bailey Clements. Some of you mentioned, Dan, before, the 21-year-old producing some driving runs, which led to Selena hitting the post in the first half on one of his crosses, but very good as well at the back, very defensively sound on his debut. And he earned some praise as well from Paul Cook in his interview, which was really good to see. But Dan, Bailey has shown quite a few of his qualities in the Papa John's Trophy. Recently, he came on in the halftime against Colchester because of Ken Lock's illness at halftime. Also, he did play against Newport and did look pretty good against Newport as well, making some good runs there. But for him, really, this is something that he needs because we've not actually seen him play in the league yet for Town. I think this is his league debut under any manager at Ipswich Town, which is good to see. But also as well, we might see a little bit more of him now. He might be slowly going up the pecking order because of Penny being out, Coulson being out, Burgess more of a centre back, not a left back. Maybe Bailey could be the way.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, it was a very impressive debut from him. I think it's kind of strange that he's 21. I didn't think he was that age, because you'd think that at 21 he'd be getting into the first team regularly by now. Like, I guess Dobra is an example of that. But it was a really good performance from him. You know, I think he was the standout player for me. Some of the runs he was doing down that left-hand side, he doesn't seem like the most paciest player, but he can get down that left-hand side quite well. He's more of a Donatian type player in that sense. But yeah, I was really impressed and pleased for him, because it's always good to see our youngsters come through and perform well for the first team. And, you know, that gives Paul Cook another option. We're having so many injury problems at left back this year with Penny and Coulson. If they're unavailable, you know, this game proves that he's a viable option to replace him. So yeah, really good stuff. It's really pleasing because he's an Ipswich fan himself. He had a season ticket. I'm sure it's a dream come true for him to play at home in front of the fans at Portman Road. So I'm really pleased for him, and his Ipswich career has got off to a great start. Long may it continue, because if he performs like that, I don't think we complaining with him in the starting lineups.
No, not at all. And also as well, we've got to remember he's from the academy as well, which is something we've not seen recently from Town's academy. Sort of players making it through. So it's quite good to see. As well, with all, you know, I know it's bad, with all the new players coming in, new additions, we don't sort of see these Town academy players come through the ranks. But it's good to see Bailey Clements doing well. May long that continue as well. Well, after that 0-0 draw on Saturday against Oxford Town, they had to travel up to Oldham for their first cup of FA Cup first round, a replay after that 1-1 draw at Portman Road, which left quite a few fans disappointed after full time. I'm sure Dan was one of them as well. And well, Town, a stunner, proved to be the difference on the night as the Blues booked their place into the second round against Barrow, now at home on the 4th of December after a 2-1 win. Dan, Town, they got it done on the night. A second round, you know, into that second round thanks to El Mazzuni's absolute stunner. But finally, no slip-ups in the FA Cup, despite a very shaky start, shall we say.
Yeah, I think we all thought, here we go again after that Oldham game, because it's just the FA Cup and replays for us. I don't know what it is. It seems to be a replay every single year, doesn't it? I don't think there was last year. I think we got knocked out straight away by Pompey, didn't we? But
yes,
in the years before that, it seems like every single year was a replay. So it's great to get a win in the replay and through to the next round against a team that, no disrespect, is probably favourable to us. Barrow at home. But yeah, I'm really pleased we got through, and seemed like a decent performance from what I've seen. We had a scare in the first half, didn't we? It seemed like probably the first 20, 25 minutes, Oldham were kind of the team on top and scored that goal. And I thought, oh, here we go again. We conceded early on to Oldham, but then they gifted us a goal, didn't they? With Chaplin pouncing on that mistake from the goalkeeper. And then El Mazzuni, I mean, what a strike that is. Where did that come from? I think I seen him score I think it was a good free kick for Cambridge when he was on loan there. But I was not expecting that. It was a fantastic strike from El Mazzuni. Glad for him to get that goal, and to take us to the second round is really good. So yeah, we've got Barrow at home coming up early December, I think. If we can win that, we're in the third round, and who knows who we could get. We could get a big team, which is, you know, the dream, I think.
Yeah, you know that big team could be. It could be maybe that noisy neighbour.
Not a big team. They're not a big team, George.
Okay, noisy neighbour then. Well, they technically are. They're in the top flight, so you have to sort of say, unfortunately, they are. Unfortunately, I know you don't want to admit it, Dan. I'll say it on your behalf for you, all right? I'll say it on your behalf.
Yeah.
Well, Paul Cookie was happy after the game. Well, he was happy after the game because he got through to the next round. But he did say it's all about getting through. Dan, for Paul Cookie, he'll be happy not to follow in the footstep of his previous processors, and Paul Lambert, Mick McCarthy, Paul Jewell, Paul Hurst, all that. Actually, not Paul Hurst. He didn't even make it to the FA Cup. That's how bad it was. Oh, gosh, that's not even good. But for him, really, no early cup exit. First time being the FA Cup as an Ipswich Town manager, not being knocked out and actually make it through to the next round. But for him, he'll be feeling the replay was not needed at all. But also as well, it maybe shouldn't have come down to a stunner to separate the two sides.
Yeah, maybe you could look at it that way. That we should have won in the first game. A home tie against Oldham is probably a game that you should win. And a replay is not exactly ideal, is it, with games coming thick and fast? But, he's going to be pleased to get through to the next round, and that's what we all wanted. So I guess in the end, it doesn't really matter how we got there. But I guess you could look at it that way. Coming up against a team that I think they're quite low down in League Two, aren't they? I think they're. I don't really pay much attention in League Two, but I'm guessing they're down the bottom of the league. I don't think they had a very good start. So we'd be the favourites, and maybe going away there might be a difficult. It's not going to be easy as people think, which it proved to be. But with the team that we've got, and I guess the lineups that he decided to put out for these games, we should get through with ease. But in the end, I'm pleased to go through as it is, in any way that we can, because I think we could beat Barrow and get to the third round, which we want to do. I think it was 2010 the last time we got past the third round, so it's been ages since we've done well in the FA Cup.
A long time coming. Yes, so Oldham are currently 23rd in League Two,
right? Yeah,
which is bottom two, and Barrow are currently 16th in League Two as well. But put this in retrospect, Sutton United are in 8th, so neither side are having a good start to the season, to be perfectly honest. Yeah. And also as well, away from the pitch, we've had some contract news. Yes, some exciting news at Ipswich Town. No, it's not Michaeli Bond. He hasn't signed a lifetime contract just yet. That's at January point. And Dan's really looking forward to that when that's announced. But instead, it is Junoid Danashin. He has signed a contract extension at Ipswich Town, now taken to the end of 2023 summer, with also a further 12-month extension as well as an option. Dan, a very important signing here in getting Junoid Danashin. His contract was running out at the end of the season, but since he has signed that 1-year extension, he's been playing out of his skin. In October, he won the club's player of the month. He's been starting a lot more. I think sort of since that Bolton game, he's been coming back into the side, starting a right back, getting assists, getting clean sheets, making important tackles. But for really, this contract extension is big news, really, because he's been rewarded for very good performances, which unfortunately, I know sounds bad, we're not really seeing from Junoid Danashin in his whole time at Ipswich Town.
No, I think I say it every week. You know what my thoughts on him before was, but he's deserved this contract, hasn't he, with the performances he's put in, and I'm really glad to see, because I was actually looking at the contract expiries the other day and saw that he was up, and was a bit worried about that considering the way he's been playing this season. But to get this done early in November, it's really good to see the club trying to get these contracts done as well. And for a player who's been the most improved, I don't think I've ever seen a player improve this much. It's crazy how good he is now. I think them loan spells really helped him, and the fact that he's stuck with the club as well. I think a lot of players would have wanted to leave by now. I guess he's Paul Hurst signing, and he didn't play much for Paul Hurst. Paul Hurst wasn't here for long, so that probably wasn't the best. But I think Paul Lambert, he had him as a youngster at Villa.
Yes.
I think he had a bit of a, I don't know, I don't think he liked him very much. So he didn't really get the chance, and had loan spells that really helped him. But yeah, since this season, he's been unbelievable, and a real surprise, and he's deserved that contract. So yeah, I'm delighted to see it go over the line.
So it's all good to see Junoid Danashin sign a new contract. This is Town. And well, it's the starting of a big week this week at Ipswich Town, which sees two big games in 4 days. And we start off with a massive away day trip to Sunderland, who currently sit in 7th place in League One. They didn't play last week because of an international call-ups, but however, they have lost their last 2 games, including a 5-1 loss to Rotherham. Dan, Ipswich Town, they want to continue that perfect away form and also continue sort of win they got against Oldham. But they're playing a Sunderland side who haven't won at home since September in League One. But we all know things can change very quickly in football.
I can, yeah, but I think this is going to be a really, really tough game. It's a huge one as well, away at Sunderland, another promotion rival. They've been, off form recently, which I guess gives us the advantage because in the league we've been fine. We've been in fine form really, and our away form has been excellent. So I think that gives me a confidence boost. But at the same time, a little bit worried about this game, considering the players that Sunderland have got and how well they started this season. Even if they have dropped off a little bit, I think I'd take a draw in this game going into it. And I think I'm gonna predict that as well. I'm gonna go for a 1-1, and hopefully that'll be a fine result. That'll be an okay one that we'll take.
Well, Dan's going for a 1-1 draw for Sunderland versus Ipswich Town this weekend. Let us know on our Twitter page at Pitch Talk what you think the score predictions will be for Sunderland versus Ipswich Town this Saturday. And that is all now for the Ipswich Town section this week. We've talked all the news about Ipswich Town. We're all Ipswich Town out, but we can never be all Ipswich Town out. That will never happen. And when we come back, we'll be talking about England. Yes, we've had England on this week in an international break, the last one before March. Their last 2 World Cup qualified games, only needing 4 points from these 2 qualified games to put their place on the plane to Qatar. Did they? We'll find out right after this.
The best place in Ipswich to hear the latest football debates, Pitchside Talk on IO Radio.
Hello and welcome back to Pitchside Talk here on IO Radio. It's Fridays at 5 p.m. with me, George and Dan. As always, now before we move on talking about England this week in their 2 World Cup qualified games, the last 2 World Cup qualified games for the 2022 World Cup in Qatar. I better mention the social medias. Twitter is at Pitchside Talk, Instagram's at Talk_Pitch, YouTube, Mixcloud, both at Pitchside Talk. And don't worry, if you missed anything from today's show, do not worry. It's 6 p.m. on YouTube and Mixcloud. This show will be up, ready for you to listen back to whenever you want to. So if you missed anything from our Ipswich Town section this week, I'm losing the plot this week. Do not worry, it'll be up there 6 p.m. on Friday. And now the international break was back this week. Boo, hiss, all that thing. But it only meant one thing. England were back in action, only needing 4 points from the next 2 qualifier games to book their place on the plane to the 2022 World Cup in Qatar. And well, England only went 1 point away from that after nearly confirming their place in the World Cup 2022 after hitting 5 goals against Albania as Harry Kane robbed a first half hat-trick home. Harry Maguire scoring, silencing the haters, which really Roy Keane loved to see. And also John Henson only getting his 2nd ever England goal. Dan, England, they took 1 step closer with a win here, but also as well for Gareth Southgate. He'll be happy because he went back to that decision of having those 2 holding midfielders, which caused a little bit of controversy. But at the end of the day, he got 5 goals from it. So why change?
Yeah, exactly. I think that's what we were a bit confused about in the last game, wasn't it? Because he kind of just went with a wonder holding midfielder. But going back to doing 2 and scoring then 5 goals in that first half, I guess proves that that's the right formation to go with. I thought this game would be more of a tough one than it was definitely easier than I thought it was going to be. Because I think Albania, they haven't had a terrible qualifying campaign, have they? I think they were 2nd in our group for some points, but to get them 5 goals in the first half and really seal it, then it's ruthless and a really good performance from that England side. And it's we expect to win these 2 games coming into it, but to start off with an emphatic win, to basically book ourselves in the World Cup. I think we had to, lose to San Marino, and Poland had to win by 5 or 6 or whatever it was. So this kind of basically put us through to the World Cup. It was really good to see. And obviously Harry Kane getting off the mark finally. He's had a tough time recently to get a hat-trick in this first game. Really good to see that as well. And he's important for England. So yeah, good all round really for this game.
Yes, and all good around for England. Well, England didn't have long to wait after hitting 5 goals against Albania. They had to travel to San Marino for the last game, only needing 1 point to qualify, as Dan said there, and some ridiculous scenario where they conceded 5 and all sorts happened.
Yeah.
Heaven appeared and all that sort of stuff. Lots of crazy stuff that happened in football. And well, England, for the first time since 1964, scored double digits. Yes, you did hear me right. 10 goals were scored past San Marino in the game as England secured their place on the plane for the 2022 World Cup in Qatar. Dan, 10-0 to England. Well and truly on their way to Qatar after a very classy performance, but also as well hitting 10 goals against, I know it's San Marino and all that, but hitting 10 goals, that's still quite impressive, whoever you play.
It is, yeah. It is definitely still impressive. We all know San Marino. We seem to play them every single qualifying, but to score 10 goals against them, it's brilliant. To be that ruthless, to take advantage of the disadvantages that San Marino have. I think you have to feel sorry for them a little bit because it's crazy the difference in class, isn't it? I think Roy Keane and Ian Wright were talking about that after the game and saying, what does their manager say? Does he say, is he happy with that? Probably not. Is he angry with that? Probably not. So you just don't know what to say to them players, but you can only play what you've got in front of you, can't you? So England did that to a T, scored 10 goals, which is really, really impressive. Another 4 for Harry Kane. So that's 7 goals in 2 games for England, which is absolutely crazy. I thought, we were faultless all over the pitch, really. I think San Marino had 1 shot on target. Was it Johnston in goal? No, it was, what was it?
Ramsdale.
It was Ramsdale, yeah, not Johnston, Ramsdale, sorry. He managed to put that around the post, but that was pretty much it, really. And it was an easy 10-0 win. First time since, what did you say, 64, was it?
1964. Can't tell you the side, but it's 1964.
So, yeah, I mean, you can't, there's nothing you can say against that, really, is there? Even though it was San Marino, you got to be impressed by it.
Yes, you've got to be very impressed by that. Well, as somebody said there, Harry Kane, this season, he has not looked himself, struggling to make an impact in the league games he has played. But in the last 2 games for England, he has now scored 7 goals, which is crazy to think. In the last 2 games, he scored 7 goals. That's mad. An average of 3.5 goals per game, if you could award halves. But it has seen the striker go flying up in the England all-time goal-scoring rankings, now going level with Gary Lineker, who is on 38 goals, and now is off 5 goals off Wayne Rooney's all-time world record, record of 53. And also he set a new record in the process of 13 goals for his country in a calendar year. No other striker has done that at all. So well done, Harry Kane, as well. But Dan, it shows really how important Kane is for England and for Southgate. We all question why he plays each time, because how far he drops back. He doesn't do much when he plays for his club, but scored 7 goals in the last 2 games. Whoever you play, I know if it's not maybe the best quality side, it still shows that is a good record for whoever striker or for whatever striker. But for England, Kane is a key man.
He is, yeah, and he always has been. He's been questioned a lot this year, hasn't he? Especially, it's been tough for him this year. I think going into the Euros, I think at the end of last season he wasn't in great form either, was he? And people were questioning what was going on. But he's so important to this England squad because who else do we have really? Tammy Abraham, decent player, but can he do what Kane does? Probably not. There's not really much other players that can do what he does. He's so crucial to this team. And to score 7 goals in 2 games, as you said, even though it's against teams that you know aren't as good as us, it's still crazy to score 7 goals in 2 games, no matter what team you play against. So yeah, I don't understand the criticism. Well, I guess I do understand the criticisms he gets, but he's so important to this England side. You can't drop him, in my opinion. That's just what I think, and I guess people might disagree, but because he hasn't had a very good season so far for Tottenham, but he's always there, isn't he, for England? And he's showed these last 2 games how massive he is to this squad. And whatever tournament we go, into the World Cup next year, he's going to be our main man, and for good reason.
Yes, he is always important for England. Harry Kane, even if he's not in form, he's always important. He's like Raheem Sterling, he's not in form at the moment for Man City, not playing, but he still can get a chance in Gareth Southgate's side. And speaking of Gareth Southgate, he spoke to the media after the game, as he always does, and he said his players respond to every challenge, adding, "We gave a performance which was enjoyable for the supporters that's travelled, was clinical and in the way we wanted it to be about, and we showed some exciting young players coming through. I just like the fact that we've got the mentality. We don't take the foot off the gas, whatever the challenge, and I've set the players up to do that, and they have responded to." Interesting sort of statement there for Gareth Southgate, which is quite nice to hear, really, because it feels like whatever challenge is thrown at this England side now, it's not going to faze them. And after sort of the year we've had, it's been a big win to sort of end off a big year for England. This is the last England game now for 2021, which has seen some new highs set, but also some very big lows as well. But it shows that this England side, whatever the challenge is, isn't going to faze them. And the mentality of this England side is strong. And also the players that are coming through as well, because we've had Conor Gallagher, he started as well, El Smith Rowe, Ramsdale, all those sort of players coming through this time.
Yeah, it's been an interesting year, hasn't it? And a really good one. Get to a final of World Cup, Euros.
Not just yet.
To get to the final of the Euros, massive achievement. And I think he's right. It's been such a difference to so many years in the past where it doesn't matter what team we come up against, we are competitive. And we'd say coming up against Germany in the Euros the past 10 years, probably ages before that, but we wouldn't stand a chance, would we? So to go into these games confident, and I'd say narrowly losing the final to Italy as well, it doesn't matter who we come up against, we're managing to fight against that, which is really good to see from an England side. As I said, it's been so long since we've seen that. So to wrap it off with a 10-0 win, this really good year. It's been really good to be an England fan, really, hasn't it? It's been, I guess there was heartbreak as well in the final, obviously. But I think we could still be proud with the achievements that we've had this year. And to wrap it off with a 10-0 win, you couldn't ask for a better way to wrap it off, could you? So let's hope 2022 is as good as this year, or hopefully, fingers crossed, even better. We'd love that, wouldn't we?
God, I love it to be bigger and better. It'd be it'd be fantastic if it was. But I won't say what it is, because spoiler warnings, and it will probably not happen if I say it now. So I'm just going to think it. Just going to think in my head. If I say anything, it won't be good at all. And there's everything for the England section this week, and also for the season, for this year actually, because England will not be back in action now until March. I'm not too sure who they're playing in March. I'm not too sure if the games have been confirmed in March. Do you know, Dan, if the game's been confirmed in March yet? I don't think they have.
I don't think so. No, I haven't seen. If it has, I haven't seen it.
Nothing has been confirmed, but the next international break is in March. It'll probably be 2 friendlies against Albania and San Marino. Let's go for that. Albania and San Marino friendlies, rematches. Let's see what happens next. There you go. That'll do. That would be quite nice. So yeah, that's everything for England this week. And when we come back, we're going to be doing a big football roundup. We've got lots of football news stories we need to get through. So we'll be right back after this.
Pitchside Talk, footy debate from the Premier League Outback.
Hello and welcome back to Pitchside Talk here on iRead. Fridays at 5 p.m. with me, George and Dan, as always. Now, before we move on, talking about a big football roundup this week, I better mention the social medias. Twitter is at Pitchside Talk, Instagram's at Talk_Pitch, YouTube, Mixcloud are both at Pitchside Talk. And if you've missed anything from today's show, do not worry. 6 p.m. so it's Friday, which is only now a few minutes away. You can listen to this show if you missed any of us talking about Ipswich Town and England this week. Do not worry, it'll be up at 6 p.m. on YouTube and Mixcloud. And now we're going to be doing a big football roundup. And Dan, I heard you want to start first because you're talking about your favourite news story in the world here.
Yeah, it's my absolute favourite. I've got the honour of talking about the new Norwich manager.
Yes,
Dean
yes,
Smith.
Yes. Rub my hands here. Pure gold, pure gold.
Yeah, Dean Smith has been appointed new Norwich manager. Interesting appointment because it looked for a long time it was going to be Frank Lampard, but Dean Smith has been chosen. And he says it's not going to be a risk, and he thinks that they can stay up this year, which is interesting. Of course, he's going to say that, but it'll be interesting to see whether they can do that or not. Because I think Dean Smith, really good manager, and I don't think that you can complain about that appointment really. But it's going to be difficult, isn't it, with the squad Norwich have got? He's got a massive task on his hands. Let's see if they can stay up this year. It's still a long way to go, isn't it? Let's just say that.
It's still a long way to go. I can tell you're holding back what you really think about this. You really want to say, I love this appointment. You know, George, it's the best appointment in the world. Norwich have signed a very good manager. They're going to be all fine and dandy. That's what you really want to say.
Well, he's a good manager, but that's all I can say about it.
You can't wait until next season now, can't you?
Yeah.
Oh God. Well, I'll be going next, and we've got some interesting news. Reading, they have been deducted 6 points by the Football English League due to breach of financial rules. The EFL deemed that the Royals have lost 75.8 million between the years of 2017 and 2021, where the limit period is only 39 million, which has seen them deducted 6 points in the league so far. Also, as well, they've got something for next year as well, some suspension thing. I'm not really too sure what that is, but they have dropped down from 16th place in the championship down to 19th. They're on 16 points, but they are still 4 points clear of the relegation zone. But 6 points at the end of the season could be the difference, really, of staying up and going down. So scary times here for Reading City. So Dan, what have you got up next for us?
Yes, so I've got some World Cup qualifying news. Wales have got through to the playoffs of the World Cup qualifying after a draw against Belgium, and very decent draw against Belgium, really. Kiefer Moore scoring the equaliser. They finished second in their group, and I think they've got a home tie as well, haven't they? So
yes,
let's see what happens with that, because Wales have been getting into the Euros the last 2 years. They didn't have a successful one this year. Definitely more successful in 2016. But yeah, I guess it's good to see the home nations doing well. But yeah, they've got through to the playoffs. Let's see what they can do from there. Let's see what. I don't know if they do a draw for that or who they're going to be playing against. I know it's not decided yet, but yeah. If they get Portugal or Italy, that'll be interesting.
Yeah, that would be super interesting. That will be Portugal or Italy.
Yeah.
Wales might win that. Imagine if Wales won one of those games. Oh gosh. Oh no, that would not be good at all. All the main sponsors be pulling out, for Italy.
They would
be there. God, they would not be happy at all. Well, I've got some FA Cup news for you. Some FA Cup controversy. Well, Exeter City, they played Bradford on Tuesday night in a 3-0 win. And the game has now been forced to be replayed again after Exeter used too many substitutions. Yes, Exeter, they're only permitted to use 5 substitutions in the in the FA Cup, but they used 6 as they brought Josh Keys on for Sam Newell at the start of extra time, and nobody noticed at all. And they won in the extra time 3-0 after it was 0-0. So the game has now been investigated and has now been ruled that it must be held again next Tuesday on the 30th of November, just 4 days before the winner will play Cambridge United in the second round. So controversial times, but how does somebody not keep count? You only need 5 fingers to figure out there's been 5 substitutions or 6 substitutions. Madness. I've never heard that before in football, Dan, but crazy times there.
Yeah, crazy. Right. Yeah. Next story. We've heard that Wales have got through to the playoffs, to the World Cup qualifying, and so have Scotland. They won. I think they won 2-0 against Denmark, who I think went through as winners of that group. But a really good win for them. Took them into the playoffs. It's good for Scotland, isn't it? They haven't been in a World Cup for a long time now. I can't remember off the top of my head what year their last World Cup was.
In the 80s, I want to say.
Yeah,
82,
in the 80s.
maybe? 82?
Yeah. But I think their squad has been improving the last few years, hasn't it? And they've been getting better. And I'm sure the World Cup is their aim. So,
yeah,
like Wales, it'll be interesting to see who they get in the next round. And let's see what they can do. It's going to be obviously a tough ask to get into the World Cup with the teams that get into the playoffs, but they've got a chance. Let's see if they can get to a World Cup. It's definitely interesting.
Yeah, do you reckon if they qualify to the World Cup, do you reckon that draw against England they got would be a better achievement than the World Cup qualifying?
It probably is. It probably would, wouldn't it? Yeah.
Do you reckon it'd be in their honours list?
We're getting into Norwich territory here, aren't
we?
we?
We are. Just replaying some off-screen puns we said earlier on. I'm sure that'd be in their honours list. You know what Scotland are like. And I've got one more final news story before we go. The Premier League has made a further £25 million available to funding clubs in League One, League Two, and as well the National League. The League One and League Two clubs will receive an extra £20 million at the end of this for the remainder of the season, where £5 million will go to National League over the next 4 years. We have to remember last year in December, the Premier League did agree sort of a similar fee for a relief package worth about £250 million to go down to these sorts of clubs. But there's an extra more money for them going down, which is good to see. It's good to see some more funding going down the pyramid as the gap does grow bigger and bigger between the Premier League clubs and the Championship, League One, League Two, and the National League clubs. But there needs to be more money around because we are seeing quite a lot of clubs go into a little bit of financial trouble, e.g. Reading and Derby. But that is all for the show this week, Dan. We've hit the end of the show. We've made it to the end of the show. The referee's about to blow his whistle for full time. As always, no extra time this week. They're not allowed to give us any for some weird reason. Not too sure why. But will you be joining me next week as always? You know, I don't know what we'll be talking about next week. Football as always, I reckon.
Yeah, there's a lot of that happening. But yeah, we've got some big Ipswich games. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it next week.
Yes, big Ipswich games as always. I want to thank you very much, Dan, for joining me this week. If you want to follow us on any of our social medias, it's pretty simple. Twitter is at Pitchside Talk. Instagram's at Talk_Pitch. YouTube and Mixcloud at both at Pitchside Talk. And if you want to listen back to the show, if you missed anything from today's show, do not worry at all. It'll be up in a few minutes on our YouTube and Mixcloud at 6 p.m. If you want to listen back to us talking about Ipswich Town, England, and our football roundup that you have just missed. So yeah, we'll see you next week at 5 p.m. as always on IO Radio. Dan, I want to thank you much for joining me. I've been George this week. He has been Dan as always. We'll see you next week and ciao.
Bye.
The whistle has been blown for full time. Tune in next week for another jam-packed show.